You're welcome back. We now shift our attention to the 2019 budget tonight, which interestingly is also very important in trade issues. We still have with us the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senator Ita Enang. He joins us from Abuja. And here in our Lagos studio, we have Mr. Babatunde Ruwashe. He's the President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for staying with us, gentlemen. Now, I'd like Senator Enang to respond to Mr. Ruwashe. He has spoken the mind of a lot of private employers in Nigeria. So how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I want to say that President Buhari's administration is extremely concerned about not just the Nigerian workers, but those who are qualified to be employed and are not yet employed. And of course, the government is ever also committed to those who are unemployed, because that is why you have the Ministry of Labor is called Ministry of Employment, Labor and Productivity. So those who are employed are part of the labor. The employment aspect are those who are yet to employed. And the administration is very concerned about it. And that is why most of the measures that are adopted are not just for those who are employed, but for those who are yet to be employed. We commend the resilience and the forbearance, and in fact, appreciate the suffering of those who are yet to be employed, and assure that the administration is taking steps in every direction to make sure you are employed. It is not possible to employ every person in the conventional public service, civil service, but the government has created many enabling environments for the private sector and the semi-private sector, including the parastatals, to expand, not just in terms of profit and earnings, but also to employ.
Okay, Senator Enang, let's talk about the budget now briefly. Senator Enang, if you can hear me, let's talk about the budget now. The budget has been passed by the Senate. Now, the Senate says in a few days it will be passed on to the President, who is meant to sign this budget into law. We understand that the President is not in the country at this point. So wouldn't that, as it were, disturb the 2019 budget?
Before you talk of assent, there must be a bill. As of today, the bill as presented by Mr. President is still on the desk of the National Assembly. The Senate has passed it. The House is yet to pass it. The Senate has concluded the process of passing. The House is, the process is inchoate. When the House passes, the clerk to the National Assembly will have to compare the version passed by the House and passed by the Senate, including the details for each of the ministries, parastatals, agencies, including the provision relating to transfer, including the provisions relating to other aspects of the budget. So,
Senator Enang, what I'm trying to say is, let's imagine all these processes are concluded by tomorrow, and the budget. Senator Enang, if you can hear me. Senator Enang, if you can take a moment. Senator Enang, what I am saying is, if all these processes you've talked about are concluded, let's say tomorrow or max by Friday, and it is sent to the President, and we know that the President is not in the country, what I'm trying to say is, the President is not around, as it were. Wouldn't that affect the 2019 budget? Let's imagine it doesn't take long to get to the President's table.
The President is on duty, and until the budget is ready and transmitted to Mr. President, no other question can arise until it is on the desk of Mr. President.
All right, so this is not going to disturb the budget?
At all. It's not.
All right. Okay, so let's move on now.
Of disturbing the budget. It is at all. It will not in any manner affect the budget so long as the budget is on the desk of Mr. President.
Okay, let's take a look at the budget briefly. Let's go back to 2013 and take a look at the appropriation process in Nigeria. We prepared something for you just to help you get a sense of how this has happened over time. If you remember, in 2013, December 19, 2013, a budget for 2014 was actually presented. It was about 4.642 trillion naira. That's by former administration of President Goodluck Jonathan. Eventually, it was passed in April the next year, and then on May the 23rd, it was signed into law by former President Goodluck Jonathan. Now we can go year by year, 2014, we can go 2015, then you have 2014, and then we can move on to 2015, 2016, up till this moment, and we realize that the trend is usually the same thing. It is sent to the National Assembly in December, It is passed around March or April, and eventually it is signed into law in May, or as it were, you can see there in June. Now, the question is for Mr. Aruwase. The Nigerian budget is a big deal. In fact, a lot of people imagine that once the budget is signed into law, a lot of money is available to spend. But passing the budget is one thing, funding the budget is another. And that's when attention now turns to the private sector. So do you think this budget is overambitious, for example?
Well, we've been living with budget being passed very late and also being underperformed. I mean, maybe it will not be funded. We are used to that. In the private sector, what we want is for government to create an enabling environment. All these problems that we have, we know the budget will also address it. But then if you look at the budget today, a lot of money has been allocated to financing of debt and even personnel costs. So you find that a little is available. And in any case, these items are items like the first line. So infrastructure may not get as much as is expected if you don't have enough funding coming into it. So we are used to that, but what we are saying is government should actually let us have an enabling environment where businesses can flourish. When you talk of budget, the private sector is not going to directly collect part of this money that is available in that budget. But it could impact on us by regulation, by creating infrastructure and all that. So the budget today is, we are talking of how can we reduce a lot of all these costs, like cost of governance. We should look for a way of reducing it so that we can have more for infrastructure that is likely to affect our own operations.
Mr. Aruwase, before we go to Abuja, I'd like you to briefly respond. During the week, a governor is quoted to have said that Nigeria might be on the brink of another recession. Do you share those sentiments?
Well, if you look at some of these things that are happening around, you would think that we are always at the brink of recession. So, well, I mean, if you have a gridlock in Apapa, you cannot get to the port. If you have a lot of cost of living and all that. But I don't think that is enough. We are able to avert such a thing if it's going to happen. Okay. It's not a good thing to start saying that you are going to fail before you write an exam.
Brilliant. So let's get Senator Enang's response before we call it a show tonight. Senator Enang, your final thoughts.
So, yeah. Our thought is that the budget assented to on the 20th of June 2018. Under that law, and from 2015, it has been that the budget runs a cycle of 12 calendar months from the day it is assented to. So the fear that some people expressed that budget was not passed early, and so there was no money to flip the economy is not correct, because there is a live, living, subsistent, and credible budget that is in operation. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce president has expressed concern about funding or releases or backing of the budget. When you talk about budgeting, it is the amount of money you are able to realize from the different funding sources that enables you to make releases. Not that money is ever available and kept in a vault for a whole year that you release. Now, it is based on how much we sell our oil, based on our exchange rate and the differentials, based on the amount of money we make from the non-oil sector, like customs, like the other sectors. That is how much money that goes into the federation account. And then the federal government takes its own share, plus what it takes from other sources that is exclusively a revenue to the federal government.
All right, Senator Enang.
When all these are had.
Okay. Senator Enang, I wish we had more time, but I'm afraid we are out of time at this moment. I'd like to thank you, Senator Enang, Ita Enang. He's a special advisor to the President on National Assembly matters. Senator Enang, we'd like to appreciate you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program tonight. Senator Enang, if you can hear me. Senator Enang, we'd like to appreciate you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program tonight, as well as Mr. Babatunde Aruwase, is the President of the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We appreciate your thoughts on the program. I'd like to wish you happy Workers' Day. I wish you same. Thank you very much for having me on the program. All right. And, well, that's the show tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayode Okikele. Goodbye.